Hi, this is Bob Miglani. I'm going to talk about transformation and selling in chaos. The world has fundamentally changed, and I'm going to share with you a new model that I think is emerging when you're talking about sales. Okay, so let's talk about it. Let's get into it, right into it. So the world has changed, and the fundamental thing I believe what we have to do is to learn to change with it. The world is not going to change for us the way we want. We have to learn to change it with it. And why do I talk about sales? Bob, what are you talking about sales and transformation? Well, you can talk about a lot of different things. And it's because in chaos, okay, what I mean by chaos is uncertainty, disruption, speed, and complexity. That's what I mean by chaos. Because in chaos, cash flow is very critical. Cash flow for companies and businesses is right now the most important thing after reducing expenses. Okay, you must reduce expenses. All right, you've got to ensure cash flow is coming in. That means your customers are coming in, they're buying, they're being serviced, and you're getting new customers. For every business, I don't care if you're selling services, products, you're selling services, market research, you're selling products, medical devices, you're selling books, fundraising for your startup or your business, or you're doing consulting work, okay? Your audience, your market, your customers are being rewired. Your customers are being rewired right now, and you need to be in front of them right now to help them get through this new chaos, this new normal that we're facing today, okay? And so selling will never be the same. And I'm going to share with you why, okay? So selling will never be the same. And it applies, again, like I said, this model, it applies to medical books, devices, books, healthcare technology, supply chain, thought leaders, consultants, B2B services and products. So fundraising and selling will never be the same because number one, customers don't have time. They are so busy with their own problems and they want you to give them the bottom line, no BS, and they don't have time to Zoom you. Customers don't have time. I talk to leaders all the time, business leaders and owners. They go in to their home offices at 7 a.m. and they emerge starving and hungry for dinner at 7:30 p.m. 12 hours a day, they're on front of their computers on Zoom and Microsoft Teams and other conference calls with their business owners and leaders trying to solve problems. So do you think they have time for Salesforce salesperson to call them? No, they don't. So customers don't have time. They never had time, in January. They're not going to have time now, okay? So selling will never be the same again because customers don't have time. Number two, their priorities have shifted. Their priorities have shifted. Their goal is to keep their family alive and healthy and safe. So they're worried about that. That's their priority. They have kids at home. A lot of us who have kids at home have to feed our kids 3, 4, 5 times a day with snacks and things. And then you have to educate them. Okay. So their priorities are shifting. So when you're talking about selling to that customer, I don't care if they're working in a large pharmaceutical company, if they're working in they're a doctor, they're working in a hospital, wherever they could be working, they are so focused now on their different priorities and you are not their priority. Okay, so you understand that as salespeople, you're not their priority. We are not their priority. They're stressed and they're anxious. Their mindset about job, finances, their own personal finances, businesses, parents, kids' futures, it's not conducive to sales pitches. Okay, the direct push, the pitch to their customers is not as relevant today as it could be because they're stressed all the time. Number 4, online adoption has greatly blossomed. Okay, it's greatly accelerated, it's skyrocketing. Emails and texts, people are overwhelmed. Boring old emails and text. People are so overwhelmed with that. LinkedIn alone has 3x increase in usage every day. 3x. Online orders. I have a friend who owns a wine shop online, wine business online. Booming. A month and a half behind orders. Okay, online ordering. A month and a half. Think about that. Month and a half to get the wine that you might have ordered. Online adoption is accelerated not only for people who are savvy, but also older people, seniors who are going to doctors' offices. They're now filling out things online. They're filling out forms online. They're learning how to communicate, do telemedicine with their doctors online. Okay, so online adoption has accelerated greatly. Number 5, customers are also smarter being online. They know more about your topic as a sales rep. Okay, they know more about it before you walk into the door, okay? Or you call on them, okay? They've Googled you, they've looked at videos, they've looked at reviews, and guess what? They're also highly active in their communities where they get a lot of great knowledge. And so these are the 5 big reasons why selling will never be the same again. And I'm going to talk about, give you some examples of that. Let's go into some of the examples, all right? Number 1, look at some of these things. Connectivity is turning away, we're turning away from our phones and they're moving into our computers, okay? And this is a source from the New York Times. This is a study that was done. It looked at people during the pandemic, during this quarantine. And look at Facebook, 27%, Netflix, 16%. This is plus in terms of usage getting onto real big screens, okay? We're talking about not the phones, moving away from phones and more to desktop computers. And suddenly we become reliant on services like Zoom. I think we should have bought the stock at 100, right? It's now somewhere around 200. So Google Classroom, these are apps being utilized more so than ever before. These technologies, we're getting used to it. Customers, your customers, okay? I don't care if you're in, marketing of a service or if you're marketing a product, a medical device, you're marketing a book. You are having to understand that people are now accelerating their usage online. Let's look at direct sales, okay? Salesforce. I started at Pfizer as a pharmaceutical sales rep. This is attitude towards pharmaceutical sales reps. It's shifting. Doctors don't want to see reps. It's a low priority. Look at the left-hand side of the screen, okay? Left-hand side of the screen, basically, high priority is not to really talk to them. Face-to-face meetings, no, it's not going to resume. They don't want it to resume. Only few doctors want to resume pharmaceutical face-to-face conversations. Look at the chart on the right. This is a study done in Europe and the United States with a company that looked at pharmaceutical sales forces. And what they're saying is, in absence of face-to-face meetings with pharma reps, which communication do you prefer? And people say, you know what, just email me or call me. Video, yes, video. Others, face-to-face, very little. Doctors want to spend less time with reps. And think about your sales force. Is your sales force now going to be one of those people want to they want less time with? So that's a big question. Now, we are being rewired fundamentally as human beings. We want more depth. We want expertise. We want more informality. There's more transparency, and we want more fun. Okay, we are being rewired and we're being trained by social media to do so. Let me give you some examples. Number 1, okay, this is an online community of optometrists online. There's 47,000 members on a group called ODs on Facebook, okay? And I know this because my wife is a member. My wife is an optometrist, and this is not her picture, by the way. So this is not her. So this is a large community. And what are they doing? What are they doing online on Facebook? Well, they're seeking advice of colleagues. This is an example on the left-hand side. And they're talking, it says, there was a post that says, anyone else still having aggravated patients who don't want to wear a mask? How do you handle that? 142 comments. Real engagement, folks. This is where everyone's going. This is where your optometrist, the people you want to call on, whether it's your professional customers, doctors, hospitalists, medical device, whatever you're selling, okay? Your customers are in these online communities, all right? This is a webinar being offered online in the Facebook group on ODs on Facebook. This is also another post, 147 comments about business issues and insurances. So what's happened is since the pandemic, there's so much more activity on this group on Facebook, okay? Because this is where they get real value, all right? People talking to each other in their communities getting real value. Now you say, oh, Bob, this is just ODs on Facebook. This is just doctors. What about real professionals? What about CEOs? Here you go. CEO of Novartis, okay? Vas. This is an informal video that he does every day on LinkedIn. He does videos. He's talking about crisis and how do you handle leadership during uncertain times. Okay, he does it from his home and he's very informal. CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world. Another CEO of one of the biggest companies in the world, Ramon Laguarta, who is CEO of PepsiCo. Here he's doing a video about recycling. These are 2 big, powerful CEOs of big companies, and they're doing videos on LinkedIn. Why? Because they recognize that that's where the audience is. This is Damon John, CEO of Fubu, and he's a Shark Tank. And he's talking about how do you get more people online. Here's the point of the slide. Professionals, us, you and me, we are being rewired by social media. Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, okay? All right, you may not be doing TikTok, but my kids are certainly. And what we want more today is video, entertainment, fun, interesting, new images, videos, authentic, informality, and we want fun. That's what we're being rewired to do. Let's talk about something else. All right, let's talk about if you're selling books, if you're a management consultant. Marshall Goldsmith is the #1 leadership thinker in the world. One video every 3-4 hours with him and somebody else. Every 3-4 hours on LinkedIn. He's flooding it because why? Because people need it. Okay, there's a lot of people who need it. This is Louis Capaldi, a singer, and he's being very informal on TikTok. When my mom tells me she's ordered pizza for me for dinner. Okay, this is a very simple, funny post that he's done. And you have to capture attention the way your customers want you to. The point of this slide again is we're being rewired by social media to look at videos more than PDF files. Look at more videos than we do PowerPoint presentation, okay? We're being rewired. So what do you do as a sales organization, sales leader? If you're running a business development organization, what do you do? How are you going to reach your audience in this chaos, okay? Number one, you have to accept the reality. You got to accept it. You can't have an argument with reality, someone told me recently. You can't have an argument with reality. You have to learn to accept the reality. Number two, relearn. Customers' needs, behaviors, problems, everything's changed. Okay, their values have changed. 3, reimagine what the new model looks like. Look for new models, new ways of working, new platforms, okay? Like the ones I'm talking about here, the BombBomb email that you might have you received from me. That's a new way, that's a new platform. Experiment, okay? Implement what I call 2 or 3 multiple plan A's, which means 2 or 3 small strategies, and you spread your money out, a little bit of dollars, and you launch it at the same time. And guess what? You let the market tell you what works and what doesn't work. I know it's overwhelming, okay? But you launch 2 or 3 key things, launch them at the same time. And this is the model I'm going to share with you now. This is what I've been doing a lot of thinking on how you can sell to customers in this pandemic environment, business to business, professional customers, okay? And I call it the surround sound sales model. Surround sound sales, okay? This is what it looks like. This is our model, what we work with you and helping you implement. So number one, let's talk about these surround sound. This is your customer in the middle. She's very happy because you're focusing on her, on where she interacts, okay? You have to be where she goes, where your customer goes, and be visible, doing something important, valuable to her, improving her life. Direct emails, this is account management, typical account management, calls, emails, texts, and you customize the content for that customers, okay? That's account management 101. You do that probably already, right, with your sales org. Number 2, virtual conferences. Why do we do a virtual conference? Why is that important? Why should you do a virtual conference about your issue, whether you're a medical device, selling books, you're selling products, you're selling services? Why should you do virtual conferences? And the reason is because you can invite your prospects to the conference as a speaker. Yes, customers and prospects want to be seen to share a story. They have a message to share with the world, and they want to feel special by being invited as a keynote speaker. Yes, that's why you do a virtual conference, to invite your prospects and invite your customers. You're also seen as an authority, a thought leader in your segment, in your industry, when you hold a virtual conference, okay? I'm going to give you an example of a company that's doing that very well coming up. Google, of course, we know, SEO, analytics, AdWords, very important. LinkedIn, extremely important. Okay, videos, posts, comments, likes, shares, write articles. You've got to be on LinkedIn. People get up in the morning, professionals get up in the morning, and you know what they do? First thing they do is look at their phones and look at text messages. Second thing they do, okay, is they look at LinkedIn. Number 3, they go to their emails, okay? People want to know what's happening in the world and the news and so on and so forth, and seeing what they do. And social media, such as LinkedIn and Facebook, is the first 2 or 3 things that most people do. Most business people, most leaders, I'm telling you, leaders go to LinkedIn, okay? And so you've got to be on that feed in the morning. YouTube, how-to instruction videos, case studies, Customers are going to check your product out before they speak to you. And having a video on YouTube on how your product works is superbly important. Not just one video, okay? You have to have several, and you have to keep building them. Why? Because YouTube is the #2 search engine in the world. Yeah, it's a search engine. Yeah, people actually go in there and say how to do something, okay? Then you do emails. You have to do emails better, folks, okay? No more boring emails. You have to use BombBomb, this embedded video in your emails that capture attention of somebody right away, okay? It's personalized. And you send them invites, campaigns, and you do standardized communication as well. Host webinars. Webinars are really important because you get to talk about a case study. Again, demonstrating your expertise. Now, here's something that's really important, okay? Customers want to talk to each other in the same industry. If you're in the medical device business, for example, and you're selling to hospitals, you're selling to doctors and decision makers, for instance, you've put together a meeting of the formulary committee, of the P&T committee, of the of like-minded people, have a customer networking session so they can talk to each other. They can learn from each other. And guess what you've done? You've provided them value, okay? And also, one of the biggest things I encourage everyone to do right now, you, yes, you. If you're running a medical device, if you're an author, if you're a speaker, if you're running a research business, if you're running a product company selling products, start a podcast. Okay, I'm pausing. That's not a quiet. Start a podcast. Here's why. You get to invite your prospects to your podcast. Yes, you get to invite your customers and prospects to your podcast and your show. And guess what? They will love you for it. I have a friend of mine who was talking to me the other day about one of the biggest chief marketing officers, one of the biggest companies in the world. He's got so much knowledge and he's itching to share it with somebody. I bet you if you say to him, hey, I want you to go to Bob Miglani's podcast or come to our podcast to share your message with the world. And you're going to reach this many audience. You have great ideas. You want to share it. He's going to jump at the chance to do so. Okay. So podcasting is really not necessarily to get more of a following. That's helpful if you can do it, but it's really a way to show your expertise on a domain industry, your domain expertise on a topic, have long conversations, case studies, and invite, and a mechanism for you to invite people to share their message, okay? And then, of course, inside sales, very important. Mike talks about this a lot. Mike Sperduti talks about a product demo. You know, inside sales are really, I mean, there's a lot of different models that are pieces of inside sales that are important. But this is the surround sound model, okay? 360-degree model, because your customer right in the middle. You've got to go where they are. You've got to get in front of them. It boosts your credibility. It makes it easy for customers to find you. And guess what? You're going to gain results. So this is the model. And remember, customers buy from thought leaders who demonstrate expertise. That's really the key. The traditional selling model is email. If you get their email address, great. If you got their phone number, okay. But what else are you going to do in this environment when emails and text messages are being flooded? You've got to go surround sound. That's really the key. So let me give you a couple of more statistics. I'm going to stop. And so first statistics, real big one. YouTube alone has 2 billion monthly users. That's where people go. People are going to YouTube. Video is so super hot. I can't tell you, it's super hot. And everyone would rather see a video than see a PDF file any day of the week, okay? And if you can do a video and then send it to them, then they are more likely to see it than if you say, hey, why don't you Zoom with me? LinkedIn is the #1 channel to get B2B content out there, okay? 94% of marketers believe that LinkedIn is the power place to be, okay? So that's important. And then let me just, sort of just highlight one huge point. 80% of all content consumed on the internet is video. If you're not participating in video platforms, and what I mean by that is your CEO, your sales leader, your executive team, if they're not doing video, you're missing an opportunity. And your sales force have to be doing video. Video once a day, okay? Once a day on LinkedIn. okay, once every 2 weeks on YouTube, okay? And that's more about how to, okay? Remember, because YouTube is a search engine, it's really important, all right? It's a very simple thing, but it's very powerful, okay? 500 million users, okay, and growing. I think it's like the latest number is 700 million are on LinkedIn. 700 million people on LinkedIn. Everyone's on it. And if you're not posting, nobody cares. Nobody sees you. And so you've got to be in their feed in the morning. You've got to be on their feed, and you have to be a thumb stopper, okay? If you're going to be effective and if you're going to be credible. Let me give you a couple of examples. Pfizer, one of the biggest companies in the world. I work for Pfizer. Guess what? Pfizer sales reps are not calling on doctors right now. They're trying. They're trying. They're not getting through because of the COVID pandemic, okay? It's very challenging for this massive sales force, expensive sales force, for reaching customers right now. And so what are they doing? They've got podcasts. Okay, look at this. Podcast doctors will listen to a podcast on the antigen. Okay, doctors will listen to a podcast on diversity or science in this time. Yeah, they'll listen. So that's where you want to do. You want to do a podcast because that's where customers are. It demonstrates your expertise, allows you to invite anyone on your show. And that's how people are learning and listening and understanding. Your customers are listening to podcasts. You may not. You may say, I don't listen to podcasts, but you know where your customers are. So you've got to go where your customers go, and you've got to be where your customers are. Number two, great example, Maxim Investment Bank, Ritesh, who's a member of this council. He's an investment banker, and they've started booming with virtual conferences constantly. This is one on infectious disease they put together recently in May, and it's 1,000 CEOs were on this conference, okay? And they had chance to share their experiences, share their products, share what they're working on. And what it does is gets people together. That's what it does. And they value what you do for them. Customer networking sessions demonstrate your expertise, allows you to invite prospects and customers who can talk to each other. And it gives your clients and audience a platform for sharing something important and valuable, okay? So remember, these are two small examples, actually big examples of companies who are actually working in this space and getting that surround sound. All right, this is a LinkedIn cheat sheet. I'm going to leave it with you. I'm going to share it with you in the deck. But I want to now just sort of turn it over to our guest speaker, Mike Sperduti, and then Mike is going to take it over from there. So Mike is a wonderful speaker. I'm going to just stop, and then we'll move to transition to the next session. Okay, let me just move this over.